a worn suitcase, a boy's trembling hands. "I'm here to claim my inheritance." The CEO's mocking laughter echoed through marble halls. But when the DNA results arrived, his arrogance shattered into a silence that would change everything forever. The security guard's hand moved toward his radio the instant the boy stepped through the revolving glass doors of Sterling Industries. 12 years old, maybe 13, dragging a battered suitcase that looked like it had survived 3 wars and a flood. Clothes that hung loose on his thin frame. Sneakers held together with determination and duct tape. Everything about him screamed wrong place, wrong world. But the boy didn't stop, didn't hesitate, didn't show even a flicker of doubt as he walked straight across that gleaming marble lobby like he owned it. "Hold it right there." Marcus, the head of security, blocked his path with the practiced authority of someone who'd removed hundreds of unwanted visitors. "This is private property, son. You need an appointment to be here." The boy looked up. His eyes, an unusual shade of green with gold flecks that seemed to catch the light, met Marcus's without fear. "I need to see Richard Sterling. I'm here to claim my inheritance." The word inheritance detonated across the lobby like a grenade. Conversation stopped mid-sentence. Designer heels froze on Italian marble. Every executive, every assistant, every person in Cathedral of Glass and Steel turned to stare at the poor kid who'd just said the impossible. Marcus's expression shifted from annoyed to confused, to something that might have been concern. "You're what now?" The boy reached into his jacket, worn canvas, probably from a thrift store, and pulled out an envelope. His hands shook slightly, the only sign that he wasn't as confident as he appeared. "This letter says I'm entitled to claim what's mine from the Sterling estate. I need to see Richard Sterling. Now." Marcus took the envelope like it might explode. His eyes scanned the document inside, and every person watching saw the exact moment the color drained from his face. "Where did you get this?" "My mother." The boy's voice cracked on the word. "She died 3 weeks ago. I found it with her things, along with this." He pulled out a photograph, edges worn from years of handling. "That's her with someone named Jonathan Sterling. The letter says he was my father." The lobby erupted in whispers that built like a storm. "Jonathan Sterling!" "Impossible, he died years ago. Never had any children. This is insane." A woman in pearls clutched her designer bag tighter, actually taking 3 steps back like poverty might be contagious. 2 executives in suits that cost more than a used car whispered behind their hands, their expressions mixing shock with barely concealed disgust. Marcus pressed his radio. "Mr. Sterling, we have a situation in the main lobby. You need to come down here, now. I'm in the middle of a board meeting, Marcus." The voice that crackled through was sharp with irritation. "Handle it." "Sir, you really need to see this." "It's about Jonathan." Silence. Then, "I'll be right down." The elevator chimed 30 seconds later. The doors opened, and Richard Sterling stepped out like a king surveying his kingdom. Because that's exactly what he was. At 56, he'd built Sterling Industries into a billion-dollar empire through ruthless intelligence and absolute control. His silver hair was perfectly styled. His suit probably cost $5,000. His shoes reflected the chandelier overhead with mirror-perfect shine. He was power incarnated. Success made flesh. Everything the boy standing in his lobby was not. Richard's eyes swept the lobby, landing on the boy with the kind of cold assessment usually reserved for balance sheets and quarterly reports. His expression didn't just show contempt, it radiated it like heat from asphalt. "Marcus." Richard's voice cut through the whispers like a blade. "Why is there a homeless child in my building?" The words landed like physical blows. Around them, people gasped. Someone laughed, quickly smothered. The woman with the pearls nodded, as if Richard had confirmed what they were all thinking. The boy flinched but didn't back down. "I'm not homeless, and I'm not leaving until you hear me out." Richard's eyebrows rose, apparently surprised that the boy could speak in complete sentences. "Excuse me? My name is Ethan Cole." The boy's voice grew stronger with each word. "My mother was Sarah Cole, and according to this letter," he held up the envelope, "Jonathan Sterling was my father, which makes you my uncle, and makes me entitled to my inheritance." The name Jonathan Sterling hit Richard like a punch. His perfect composure cracked for just a second. Shock, pain, something raw flashing across his face before the mask slammed back into place. "Jonathan Sterling," Richard repeated slowly, dangerously, "was my brother, and he died 11 years ago in a car accident. He was 28 years old. He had no children. He had me." Ethan's voice shook but held firm. "I'm 12. My mom got pregnant right before he died. She never told him. Never told anyone. She was—" His voice broke. "She was afraid." "Afraid of what?" Richard's voice dripped poison. "Of people like you." Ethan looked Richard straight in the eye. "People who would call her a gold digger, who would say she trapped him, who would treat her exactly like you're treating me right now, like she didn't matter, because she wasn't rich." The silence that followed was absolute. No one in that lobby had ever heard anyone speak to Richard Sterling like that. Certainly not a child. Certainly not a poor one. Richard's face flushed red. "Marcus, give me that letter." Marcus handed it over, his hand shaking slightly. Richard read it, his expression cycling through denial, anger, and finally landing on something that looked almost like fear. "This is a forgery," Richard announced to the watching crowd, his voice hard. "An obvious scam. Marcus, call the police. I want this child removed and charged with fraud." "No!" Ethan's shout echoed off marble. "It's real. My mother wasn't a criminal. She worked 3 jobs her whole life and never asked anyone for anything. She died at 39 because her body just gave out from exhaustion, and I watched her collapse in our kitchen while I called 911 and begged them to hurry." His voice shattered. Tears spilled down his face and he didn't wipe them away. Just stood there, this 12-year-old boy in his thrift store clothes, crying in front of dozens of strangers who looked at him like he was a stain on their perfect marble floor. "She never wanted your money," Ethan continued through his tears. "She kept that letter for 12 years and never used it. She could have claimed the inheritance at any time, could have given us an easier life, but she didn't. You want to know why?" He stepped forward, and Richard actually took a step back. "Because she knew you'd treat us exactly like this, like we're nothing, like we're liars and criminals just for existing. So she worked herself to death instead. She sacrificed everything to protect me from you. Your mother was a cleaning woman who somehow obtained confidential legal documents," Richard said coldly, though his voice shook slightly. "I don't know what game you're playing, boy, but it ends now. Security." "Wait." A new voice cut through the tension. An older man stepped out of the elevator Richard had exited. 60s, simple suit, glasses, carrying a worn leather briefcase. His eyes swept the scene with sharp intelligence. "Richard, what's going on?" "Lawrence. Perfect timing." Richard's voice dripped sarcasm. "This child is claiming to be Jonathan's son with some forged document. I'm having him removed." Lawrence Abbott had been the Sterling family's attorney for 30 years. He'd drafted Jonathan's will. He'd been there the day Jonathan died. And as he looked at Ethan Cole, his face went completely white. "Dear God," Lawrence whispered. "He has Jonathan's eyes." The lobby erupted in fresh whispers. Richard spun to face his attorney. "What?" "Those eyes." Lawrence walked closer to Ethan, studying his face with an intensity that made the boy uncomfortable. "Jonathan had unusual eyes, green with gold flecks. I've only ever seen eyes like that once in my life, on your brother. And now this boy is standing here with the exact same eyes, claiming to be his son. That proves nothing," Richard snapped. "Coincidence. Genetics. It doesn't—" "Let me see the letter," Lawrence said quietly. Richard handed it over reluctantly. Lawrence pulled out his phone, took a photo of the document and typed something rapidly. His phone chimed. He read whatever appeared on the screen, and his hands started shaking. "Richard," Lawrence said carefully, "we need to talk, in private, now. I'm not going anywhere until this is resolved. The letter is real," Lawrence said flatly. Time stopped. Everything stopped. Even breathing seemed to stop in that lobby. "What?" Richard's voice was barely a whisper. "The signature is authentic. The seal matches our archives. The document number is in our system." Lawrence cleaned his glasses with shaking hands. "This letter was issued by our legal department 12 years ago, shortly after Jonathan's death, as specified in your father's will." "That's impossible." Richard looked like he'd been struck. "Father never mentioned. Your father included a provision in his will. If Jonathan ever had children, they would automatically inherit his 40% share of Sterling Industries." Lawrence turned to Ethan. "Young man, What's your birthday? March 7th. Lawrence did the math, his face growing more ashen. Jonathan died in June, 11 years ago, which means the mother was already pregnant when he died. Richard finished, his voice hollow.